Money wins.
Money itself isn't lost or made, it's simply transferred from one perception to another, like magic.
The first million is hard, but the second million is inevitable.
Rehearse in your mind who you're going to be when you open your eyes, the things you have to do, the choices you have to make, the steps you have to take, and review them over and over again.
You only attract to you what you expect. Expectation is a mindset. And as you build that mindset, you set up the law of attraction. The next one, the law of vibration. Every level of vibration is referred to as a frequency. This body you're living in operates on frequencies. Everything in this universe operates on frequencies. We have to get onto the frequency of the good that we desire. And as you start to understand the law of vibration, you can start to take control over your life.
Stay focused. Don't listen to nobody. Don't listen to nobody, homie. What's on your mind, just do it. Because what's destined for you, you're going to get it.
The illusion has become real. And the more real it becomes, the more desperate they want it.
All of our limitations exist within our own minds. And the most important quality or characteristic that you can develop for happiness and success is to be unstoppable. It's by the basic psychological, behavioral development principle of simply saying it to yourself. Because whatever you say to yourself and believe over and over again, you start to believe as a reality. You start to walk it and talk it and act it. So what you say is, I am unstoppable. And just simply decide, these are my dreams, and write them down. If you can clearly define that target, you can hit it. You eventually always hit the targets that you set for yourself. Allow your mind to float freely and ask yourself this question. What one great thing would you dare to dream if you knew you could not fail? And write it down. The very fact that you allow yourselves to dream big dreams causes you to feel better about yourself, see yourself better, think of yourself better, and it starts the process of making yourself unstoppable.
Law of attraction is like a giant photocopying machine. Every thought you think will come back as the pictures of your life. You guys are so powerful. You're manifesting all the time. You are either manifesting your desire or you are manifesting the absence of your desire. You just need to tilt it the other way. And the way that you tilt it is always with the degree of thoughts that you have or visualization that you do. And so you've just got to be telling yourself over.
Well, most people are held back in whatever they're doing by old paradigms. Now, yeah, paradigms influence your thinking. They influence my thinking. My paradigm influences my thinking, yours influence you. Now, if you want to change your way of doing things, you're going to have to override the paradigm, and that's not an easy thing to do, and it can be scary. It can cause a lot of discomfort. Paradigms control what you do. So if you're going to change what you do, you have to make up your mind you're going to override the paradigm.
The clearer you are, the faster you manifest. What I want you to do is to playfully declare, what would you like to have, do, or be? One way of doing this is to pretend if it fell out into your lap. What most people do wrong when they state an intention is that they're desperate for the intention. If you're desperate for something, unconsciously you're stating, I don't believe this is going to happen. What you want to have when you state your intention is a clarity of purpose that has a sense of fun to it. By saying the phrase, would it be cool, you take off a lot of the desperation and the urgency that people put on. Be focused on what you want very clearly, but without an attachment to it. The trick is you write all these things down, like wouldn't it be cool if, and you fill in the blank, then a notebook or whatever, and you more or less forget about it. You planted the request with the universe. When you go back and check your book and your listing later, you'll find out more often than not, it's like, oh, that did happen, but I forgot all about it. The universe, in many ways, realigns itself and repositions everybody as if we're chess pieces to make our dreams come true.
The thing is, when you figure out that primal inclination, that grain that's inside of you, then you have the energy to be disciplined, to go through boring tasks, to learn. You learn at a faster rate because you're emotionally engaged. When you're emotionally engaged in a subject, the brain learns twice, 3 times, 4 times as fast as when you're not.
The law works like this. If you don't stop being grateful, the law will vibrationally match and give you more and more to be grateful for. You wake up, you become grateful. You go through traffic, grateful you got a car. You're in line, you're grateful you're in the supermarket line, you can buy some food. Whatever it is. If you're on a downward spiral, you're on that frequency of discomfort, disease, not enoughness, you say, how can it get better than this? And then your mind will start to be flooded with how it can get better. And then when you're rising and you're having a really great day, you ask the same question. How can it get better than this? Because we're dealing with something that's infinite. So wherever you are, you're barely scratching the surface of the next moment that wants to emerge through you, the next gift, the next power, the next revelation. So you stay in that frequency.
We cannot attract anything in our life that we feel separate from. The moment you feel the lack and the separation, you're holding yourself hostage to the past, trusting in a future that you can't see or experience. You have to lay down the very thing you use your whole life to get what you want, to trust that something greater could happen. And that's not something that's very easy. So when we get to a point where we're so happy with ourselves, we're no longer looking because we feel like we already have it. That's when we belong to the future, right? That's when the synchronicities and the coincidences and the miracles and the opportunities begin to show up in our life to prove to us that we are the creators of our life.
The ability to manifest is fundamentally based in neuroscience. If you have an intention, you write it down, then you read it silently, then you read it aloud, then you visualize that, and you do that over and over and over again. What that will do is then embed that into your subconscious. And then these different cognitive brain networks get activated. Once you get this embedded, it activates different parts of your brain. What fires together, wires together. If you create habits, this results in the creation of neural pathways. The mere repetition of those habits actually lays down the circuitry that then gets embedded and then actually makes things happen.
Everything that you think about, you become. Thoughts lead to actions. Actions lead to behaviors. Behaviors leads to lifestyle. Lifestyle determines your destiny. So everything begins in the mind. If you can control and wield your mind, you can determine your destiny. If you decide to work on your business and you commit and you determine your mindset and you wield it, you can become successful. If you determine to be a studious individual and knowledgeable, you will be knowledgeable. If you determine to be rich, you will be rich. Everything is in your control. If you can control your mind, control your habits, control what you feed into your system, into your soul, you can very much control your future and your destiny. Control your mind, you control your future.
If you can think it and you can let yourself get emotionally involved with it and you stay focused on it, you can have it. You can understand the mind is everything in your life. Your imagination will take you anywhere and it'll give you anything you want. Here's the trick. Decide what kind of a life you actually want. Then say no to everything that isn't that.
It's all about the mind. Your relationship with your own mind is perhaps the most important one and the biggest driver of how you're going to show up in the world. The more you can become a master of your thoughts, the more that you're going to be able to grow into this self-actualized version of yourself. We all know that if we want to get strong, we go to the gym or we have a movement practice. We understand the relationship between exertion and progression in the physical sense, but we really don't appreciate that that same equation applies in how we relate to our own minds. And so meditation is just one tool of engaging in that process. I think there's many ways in which we can engage with that, but the problem with the mind is it's invisible and it requires a diligence and a determination and a consistency, to get to a level of mastery before you see any kind of outward progress in terms of like your behavior or the trajectory of your life.
If we knew that the best way to create a future really is to change your state of being, then you would have to manage your attention on that thought and have to say, is this thought actually the truth? And how long am I going to keep thinking this thought and firing and wiring that circuit in the brain? So there's biology, because now it's an automatic program. It's a belief. Wow. A belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over again until it becomes subconscious or unconscious. So to change then is to become so conscious of that unconscious thought, that unconscious belief, that it wouldn't slip by your awareness, unnoticed and checked. And now the body's in rehab because it's overdosed. It's been on a bad trip. And the body, which has been conditioned to be the mind, is 95% of who we are, right, by the time we're in the middle of our life.
So how do you develop this unshakable quality of persistence, which will guarantee your success in life? Nothing can stop you if you don't quit. If you don't quit, then the only alternative is you must succeed, and eventually you must succeed greatly. Well, the great rule, you become what you think about, but you become what you say to yourself. So what you do is you say to yourself these magic words. You say, I never give up.
If when you were a kid you dreamt of being an actor, then if you actually try to start doing that, even if it's hard, that was your dream. That was what you feel you were put on this earth to do. You will endure barriers and obstacles and refusals and difficulty and keep going. Whereas for other things, you might not. We know that idea of giving up just before you dig up the gold, right? if you've got magnetic desire, you won't give up. That's where the motivation piece comes in. And all of these are the science behind what contributes to manifesting what you want.
Then what is it that you want in life? Once you've asked yourself what it is you want in life, then you can look around your world and you can determine what is right for you and what is wrong for you. What does that mean? It means that everything that moves you toward what you want is right, and everything that moves you away from what you want is wrong, but everything counts.
Ask yourself, can I be defined by a vision of the future instead of the memories of the past? What do I want in my life? And take the time to answer the question. As you begin to contemplate and think about the answer to the question, you're changing your brain. When you make your brain fire in new sequences and new patterns and new combinations, that's the beginning steps of changing your mind. Next, decide on the emotions you'll feel when you begin to create that future. And teach your body emotionally what that future is going to feel like. And don't get up until you begin to feel those emotions.
I can do what I've been dreaming of doing, giving back to people who have given so much to me. I just wanted to give it back and help out and just do that. And my mother and father are still young. Now they have their feet up, they can relax, they are in a new place, so it's good. That's something I always dreamed of. I always visualized what giving would feel like, giving to people who have given to me, what that would feel like. I always dreamed of just showing up one day and be like, here. And that would always give me like good feelings. I feel to be at the pinnacle of any game, in any, whatever you do, you've got to be a little bit gone to it. You're not all there. You've got to be almost insane to your craft. Not a lot of people can understand that. That's why I don't know about nothing else. I do not pay attention to nothing else.
I think it's important that you put a conscious effort into appreciating your surroundings, you know what I mean? That's what I do with this place. I absolutely love this city. You know, you need to appreciate your surroundings and be grateful for it, and that's when good things happen, you know what I mean? But to have that bitterness and that negativity, then things start going bad, you know what I mean? So I think the fact that I have them thoughts and the fact that I appreciate everything and I'm grateful for the things around me and the way things are going, that's why it's going so good for me.
You have the ability with your imagination to put yourself right at the scene. And that's exactly what these sports psychologists are coaching Olympic athletes to do. As you're standing there and the wind is blowing and your hat is on and they're calling your name, now you're clipping in. Now you're feeling the excitement in your stomach. Now you're feeling yourself push off. And you feel the momentum kick in and the gravity pull down and the speed increasing and you feel the lift off and you literally mentally rehearse visually and in your body feeling it. And what you're doing is you are preparing your body to be able to do it.
The path of personal development is befriending uncertainty. And so I obviously sit from the entrepreneurial perspective, but almost all decisions that you make in the beginning, you have incomplete data and you have to make decisions anyways. And so it's growing comfortable with taking your best bad guess and being directionally correct rather than searching for a perfect answer, because a perfect answer assumes perfect information, which you can only have after you begin. And so in some ways, making a decision is the perfect answer so that you can get the information feedback to then improve the quality of the decision later. And I think that one loop is what a lot of people miss out on, is they obsess for years sometimes on the perfect pick, the perfect business, the perfect job, the perfect mate, when most of the times beginning each step illuminates the next step, which means the information, the feedback that you get from walking gives you more about where to walk than trying to sit at the beginning in the darkness and pick a direction.
Well, people will not see the truth. They will see what they want to see. I don't want to live like that. Good. And you will live exactly the way you live now, questioning who you are, wondering what is possible, wondering what you are capable of doing. That's how that looks. Or you can be me, which, am I happy? I don't know. Never really thought about it. Don't really care about it. Because all I really cared about was when I looked in the mirror, I saw a piece of shit. Happiness wasn't on the mirror at 16 or when I was 300 pounds. It wasn't like, oh, I'm looking for happiness. No, I'm looking at myself in the mirror and say, all right, at the end of the day, you're a bad boy, because that shit sucks.
We joined because we believed. We stayed because we were committed. We left because we were disillusioned. But we came back because we were lost. Without a dream, we are nothing.
We rejoice in who we are, and we know that life is here for us and will supply us with everything that we need. We move from success to success, from joy to joy, and from abundance to abundance. We are one with the power that created us, and we express for ourselves the greatness that we are. We are divine, magnificent expressions of life, and we are open and receptive to all good.
Your true beliefs are only and always expressed in your actions. It is not what you say or what you intend that tells what you believe, but only what you do. Your actions are always the true measure. And the interesting thing that we've learned in behavioral psychology is this, that if you do not feel self-confident, courageous, consistent, like concentrating, clear, and so on, if you don't feel like it, and most of us start off not feeling like it, if you will act the part, if you will pretend as though you have the quality already, the feelings will generate the actions, and the actions will generate the feelings. That if you will act, walk, talk, and live by the same principles and do the same things that successful men and women do, even if you doubt yourself in the initial stages, eventually you will come to the point where you actually feel to the bottom of your soul like a successful, positive, confident, cheerful, optimistic, unstoppable human being.
Keep your mind open for hunches from within. And when you are inspired to action, do not wait, but move on your own personal initiative at once. Remember, there can be no application of applied faith without action. When overtaken by defeat, as you may be many times, remember that man's faith is tested many times before he is crowned with final victory. And accept your defeat as nothing more than a challenge to keep on trying. A burning desire for the things or circumstances you want is the starting point of all applied faith. Be definite, believe, and act. And keep on acting if at first you meet with defeat. When doubt creeps into your mind, remember that whatsoever a man believeth, that shall he also reap. Remember, faith is not something you get. Faith is something you already have. But you may be using it in reverse gear by believing in the circumstances and things you do not want.
And the body's so objective that it does not know the difference between the real life experience that's creating that emotion and the emotion that person is fabricating by thought alone. To the body, it's exactly the same. So the body's believing it's being chased by a predator. The body's believing it's in an offensive situation where it has to attack. The body's believing it's constantly needing to be ready. It's constantly out of homeostasis. It's constantly out of balance. It's in emergency. It's in fight or flight. It's a different system in the autonomic nervous system where you're stepping on the gas, where you're mobilizing enormous amounts of energy for some threat, some danger, real or imagined. But that thought and that feeling, the image, the emotion, the stimulus response is conditioning the body to automatically be the mind of that emotion. So then, now the body becomes conditioned and addicted. Now this gets to be a problem because people get addicted to their own thoughts.
It becomes their personality, right?
It is their identity. And they become addicted to the life they don't even like.
It's most important when things go wrong. It's easy to have a positive attitude and be cheerful when everything is going according to plan. But it's when you encounter unexpected setbacks and difficulties that you demonstrate to yourself and the world around you what kind of an attitude you really have. Make sure that it's a positive attitude. Thanks for watching my video. Make sure to subscribe and tell a friend about it. For exclusive content on sales training and leadership in business and personal success, visit me at briantracy.com. And while you're there, sign up for my newsletter. Until next time, create the success that you desire.
If you see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand.
This is so true. You've got to grab this. You got to create dream boards. You got to put the new car up on your mirror. Put the weight you want to be on the refrigerator. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. That's the law of attraction. That's what you bring to you.
Well, you used to fit right here. I'd hold you up and say to your mother, this kid's going to be the best kid in the world. This kid's going to be somebody better than anybody ever knew. And you grew up good and wonderful. It was great just watching you every day. It was like a privilege. Then the time come for you to be your own man and take on the world, and you did. But somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow.
If you really have faith, you don't need belief. Because faith is an entirely different attitude from belief. Faith is a state of openness or trust. To have faith is, for example, like when you swim, you trust yourself to the water. You don't grab hold of the water when you swim. And if you go stiff and tight in the water and try to catch hold of it, you'll sink. You have to relax. So the attitude of faith is the very opposite of clinging, of holding on. So that you could say that a person who is a fanatic in religion, who simply has to believe in certain propositions about the nature of God and the nature of the universe, is a person who has no faith at all, because he's holding on tight.
Life is risk. It take courage to pursue your dream. I just did it. It cost me everything, but eventually, God is very good, man, when he sees you take a leap of faith. He supplies you everything you need. Now, it's gonna cost you something. But most people are not willing to pay what it costs to go after your dream, because you're gonna have to hurt a little bit. And most people don't like being uncomfortable. If you don't want to be uncomfortable, please do not pursue success, because success is a very uncomfortable feeling. And I just learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable. If you can get that in your head.
Believe in yourself. There's nothing wrong with having confidence. There's nothing wrong with being delusional.
You have to be so delusional about your own success. You have to be so delusional about where you want to go in life until you've literally just create it out of thin air, and you just have to keep your head down and keep grinding and keep pushing until it happens.
But if there's one piece of advice I can give to anyone that's watching this video, out of however many people are watching this video, it's stay fucking delusional.
If you're able to conceive it and believe it, well then, you can achieve it.
Complete delusion. You gotta believe the delusion.
Sometimes you have to create a delusion, right? A delusion that is so far out there that people will think you're crazy.
Because it's only delusional until it works.
It's possible to be great. It's possible to make more money. It's possible to be more healthy.
If you change what you expect, you change what you believe, you change your dominant thoughts, you change your inner workings, you begin to attract into your life people, circumstances, events, opportunities, everything consistent with your new thought.
Sit down, decide what you want, write it on a card, carry the card in your pocket, and read it as often as possible every day. I found if you write a lie on a card and you read it often enough, you're going to start to believe it. Believe, and your belief will actually create the fact. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. You may not have a colorful background, and maybe you have. You may not have a lot of formal education, and maybe you have. But it really doesn't matter. If you've got a goal and you're willing to stick to it and study the laws, you're going to find out that you can win.
It feels familiar. I saw it so clearly. I swear to God, I saw it so clearly, so consistently, until it's here in reality. So
if you spend your time chasing butterflies, they'll fly away. But if you spend your time making a beautiful garden, the butterflies will come to you. And if they don't, you'll still have a beautiful garden.
Very basically put, the law of attraction says that like attracts like, but we're really talking at a level of thought.
Our job as humans is to hold on to the thoughts of what we want, make it absolute clear in our minds what we want, and from that we start to invoke one of the greatest laws in the universe, and that's the law of attraction.
The reason people are unsuccessful is they think thoughts of unsuccess or failure. The other line, which is very, very important, says that all causation is mental. We live in a mental universe. All causation is mental. If you wish to change your universe, you have to change your mentality. And this brings us to the most important line of all, which is simply this. If you change your thinking, and you change your life.
If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. I want you to see in your mind yourself doing what you really want to do.
This is how to manifest anything using the power of affirmations.
You take the description of the new you that you wrote up. That new description should include no negatives. It should be in the present tense. It should not say, I am going to become. It should say, I am. I am so happy that I am, and describe everything that you want to be. As you write out this description of you, you're literally building brain cells. Those new brain cells hold an image of the new you. Now, this is how the change is made. You use this and you let yourself totally relax. Don't try and relax. Let yourself relax. You let yourself get emotionally involved in this image. And you know that every time you do, in a very relaxed state, wham, you just trigger those brain cells. And you know every time you do that, you're giving more and more energy to those brain cells. And in a relatively short period of time, those ideas will be fixed in your mind, and that's the way you'll live.
Because whatever you say to yourself and believe over and over again, you start to believe as a reality. You start to walk it and talk it and act it. So what you say is, I am unstoppable. I'm unstoppable. I'm unstoppable. I don't care what it is. I'm unstoppable. Nothing will stop me. The greatest of all qualities to guarantee success is the absolute willingness to go at anything and refuse to stop until you achieve it. And you know something? The statistics show that 95% of the goals that you set for yourself, you will achieve if you refuse to quit.
I've seen many miracles take place in people's lives. Financial miracles, miracles of physical healing, mental healing, healing in relationships.
All of this happened because of knowing how to apply the secret.
You've probably been sitting there wondering, what is the secret? I'll tell you how I have come to understand it. We all work with one infinite power. We all guide ourselves by exactly the same laws. The natural laws of the universe are so precise that we don't even have any difficulty building spaceships. We can send people to the moon, and we can time the landing with the precision of a fraction of a second. I don't care if you're in India, if you're in Australia, New Zealand, Stockholm, or London, or Toronto, or Montreal, or New York. We're all working with one power, one law. It's attraction.
Before you go to sleep every night, visualize yourself being, doing, and having the good which you desire. Because while you are asleep, your conscious mind is in abeyance for a longer period of time than at any other period in your daily life. And when you impress the subconscious just before going to sleep, the subconscious works with that idea that you've given it, even while you're asleep. The subconscious mind will be correlating you with all of the good which you have visualized. You say you may not realize it, but your mind is working for you or against you, even while you are asleep. And the mastermind within you says that if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me. And whatever idea you lift up before your subconscious mind, before you go to sleep, that idea is impressed upon the subconscious and it draws that to you. You'll wake up in the morning and the right ideas will just be clicking in your head.
The conscious mind can learn from reading a book. So the subconscious mind can read a self-help book and you go, wow, that sounds really great. And then you find you read the book, but your life is still the same. And it turns out, why? And the answer is because the subconscious mind is more of a habit mind. Things that you repeat over and over again. Yes. So the reality is, If you can stay conscious, be present, and when those negative thoughts come in our head, and psychologists tell us 70% of the time, the thoughts that are going through our head are negative and redundant, so the same negative thoughts are going through. If you could stop those thoughts, if you could hear them as they come through, like, oh, that's not going to work, or this will never happen, those kind of thoughts. If you can hear them and stop them consciously, say, no, change the belief right there, just give them more positive thing. As you repeat this more frequently and you keep repeating it, the subconscious mind begins to learn.
Learn to become still and to take your attention away from what you don't want and all the emotional charge around it, and place the attention on what you wish to experience. Energy flows where attention goes. You can begin right now to feel healthy. You can begin to feel prosperous. You can begin to feel the love that's surrounding you, even if it's not there. And what will happen is the universe will correspond to the nature of your song. The universe will correspond to the nature of that inner feeling and manifest, because that's the way you feel.
One of the best books that I've read this year is The Expectation Effect by David Robson. So he is a science writer from the UK, and he looked at a whole bunch of studies. The placebo effect, which everybody's familiar with, right? There is a particular expectation that an outcome is going to come from some sort of medication, and lo and behold, that outcome manifests. He found this across pretty much every area of anything that you care about. So my two favorite studies from this, so interesting. He realized that gluten intolerance, self-report gluten intolerance, has increased from 3% to 30% in 10 years.
This is why there's so many gluten-free options on the menu?
They've got 30% of the population to serve, yeah, so people need it. And he was wondering, well, what is it? Human biology hasn't changed that much. Is it maybe that the foods have changed and people are responding to that? Or is it maybe some sort of expectation because the type of news stories that are hearing about gluten and about how bad it is for us and inflammation and all this sort of stuff, maybe it's that and people are expecting it. So they brought people into a lab. They sit them down. These people do and do not have self-reported gluten intolerances, and they give everybody the same meal. They tell everybody in the room that it's got gluten in it. It's got no gluten in it. After a while, people who don't have a gluten intolerance biologically, who haven't eaten gluten, have diarrhea, they have hives, they're breaking out in inflammation, they're having to run to the bathroom. Okay, well, that's kind of interesting. He did another story that he spoke about. VO2 max tests that they were looking at. Apparently there's a particular genetic mutation that allows people to blow off CO2 and upregulate oxygen in a better way. They brought people in, even numbers of people that did and did not have this genetic trait, split them into two random groups. So there was a mix of both do and do not have the trait in each. First group was told, you've got the right genetic trait, you should be really, really good at this. Second group was told, oh, sorry, you don't have it, you shouldn't be too good. No surprise perhaps that the group that was told that they did, they ended up performing better. But when they actually looked at what was happening in the physiology of these people, they found that the people who didn't have the genetic mutation but were told that they did had a lower overall lactate threshold, they had a lower overall heart rate, they were blowing off CO2 more effectively and upregulating oxygen better than the people who did have the genetic mutation but were told that they didn't. So he coined this term that said your expectations are even more powerful than your genes.
Your subconscious mind is marvelous, but what it does is it only thrives on goals that you pronounce in the now, in the present tense. You now have a dynamism. It's called a dynamism in your brain, where your brain knows that you're only earning this amount of money, but now you're saying, but I earn this amount of money. Your brain knows that you're not a millionaire, but now you're saying, I am a millionaire. And so your brain goes to work to close this gap between where you are and where you want to be. And your brain starts to work 24 hours a day. And it works and it gives you ideas. Each person here has what is called the superconscious mind. And this mind has been talked about for 5,000 years. And some call it the oversoul. And some people call it the God mind. Some people call it God, spirit, whatever it happens to be. But there's this incredible power in the universe that you can tap into. You could just reach into it by simply writing down a goal clearly on a piece of paper. And then this mind goes to work 24 hours a day to bring it into your life.
That comfort zone is a dangerous place to be. You have the ability, when someone gives you a suggestion that takes you in a direction other than where you want to go, you have the ability to consciously and mentally just reject that idea. And then you can go ahead and originate whatever idea you want. Now, as long as an idea is in your conscious mind, it'll have absolutely no effect on your physical body or what you're doing. No effect at all. It's when you take that idea and you turn it over to this part of our mind we refer to as the subconscious. The early Greeks referred to this part of our personality as the heart. You see, they pointed out that as you think in your heart, so are you. Whatever idea comes in and goes in here instantly is manifest in that physical body of yours.